Hello, and thanks for checking out yourlocalnote.com. This is the website where you can find bands and artists who live and play in the Philly area. You can discover the talent that resides in this area on yourlocalnote.com. Also, remember, we are streaming 24/7, and you can also download our free apps. That's right, I said free apps. Just go to the respective stores for the Android phones and for iPhones. Type in YLN and then download the app for free, and you can hear our streaming. And it also takes you to the site, so check it out. This week we are hanging out with Meghan Cary, and she's got an album out called Building This House. We're going to talk to her about that album and some of the other music she's played in her career, and that's coming up in just a couple minutes. We'll do that right after we play her song called Building This House, the title track of her last album, on yourlocalnote.com.
I am building this house brick by brick, board by board, building this house for my love, building this house for the family we have not yet begun. I am plowing this field seed by seed, row by row, plowing this field for my love, sowing these seeds to feed a family will raise beneath the sun. I will raise these boards one by one, one by one. I will tend these fields in the heat of the summer sun. I have just begun building this house. I am raising you up day by day, year by year, raising you up for my love, raising you up. You are my family, a family sent down by God above. I will take each day one by one, one by one. I will teach you to climb each mountain as it comes. I have just begun
Song is called Building This House. Meghan Cary is the artist, and she's with us for this podcast. Meghan, welcome and thank you for hanging out with yourlocalnote.com.
Thank you for having me.
All right, very cool. Let's talk about how you got into music before we talk about this song. Let's talk about what point in your life did you say, you know what? Music is what I want to do, because you do have a varied history that we're going to go through.
Oh yeah, I mean, it took me a minute. I started out. I was pre-med in college.
You were pre-med.
I was pre-med at Duke University, and I came out
at Duke.
Yeah,
wow. That's a pretty good school.
Yeah, and then I came out with a drama degree. Yeah.
So mom and dad were pleased.
Yeah, they were thrilled.
That's okay.
They were just thrilled.
I went for school with an accounting degree and ended up with a speech comm degree. So I
see,
totally understand.
There's something. I think, you're in that math class or that accounting class or that chemistry class, and you're just like, wait a second, the left side of my brain is about to shrivel up and die. I need to do something. And so I ended up going into theater, and I went to grad school.
Okay. And then you've actually been plays,
I've
TV,
done
movies,
a lot of theater. I mean, theater is. I love being on stage, whether it's singing or acting. And I used. I had a great commercial career. I was very lucky. I had a commercial career, and that supported my music career as I was getting it off the ground.
So you were doing both at the same time. Was music always your first love?
I think. Yeah, I mean that's how I knew that I liked to perform,
right?
Because I sang all the time, and I just I was always making music, but I didn't play. I didn't play until much later in my life. I picked up a guitar and I was like, okay, I got to figure this thing out because I have something to say. And but I went into acting because I knew I liked to perform.
Okay.
And then I had to learn how to act. It was a whole different thing.
Sure.
And music, I had to learn how to sing. I had to learn how to play guitar, and I had to.
And you did this all in college?
College and then grad school.
But that's where it became serious.
It wasn't as a kid.
Some bands we've talked to, they've been playing since they were 13 or 14 in bands. So you sort of hit it late.
Yeah. What inspiration did you have that you knew you wanted to perform?
Well, performing. That's funny. I used to go to Hershey Park. I grew up in Hershey, Pennsylvania, just down the road a piece.
Yes.
And I used to go and I watched the shows. And I was like, oh gosh, I'd like to do that. I'd like to get up there and sing and dance and make everybody happy.
Sure.
In the air conditioning. So I mean, but I really was. I was very science focused, and I was going to do that, and that's always what I was going to do. And then I got cast in a musical at college, and it was all over.
After the musical.
After the musical.
Okay.
And I wasn't writing music though at that time.
When did you start writing music?
Well, I started writing music. I actually met the man who I was meant to marry when doing a musical. Doing a musical called Pump Boys and Dinettes, and we met and we fell in love. And he was a flat picker, a guitar player and singer, and I used to sing backup sometime with him, but I didn't play, and I didn't know any song from beginning to end. I just knew that, like, the chorus and the harmony, because that's what I did with him, and as sad as it is to say, he died very suddenly.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And so it was a big pivotal point in my life, because I knew what I was doing. I had a direction, and all of a sudden everything that I'd planned was done. It was gone. Nothing was the same.
And you were working with him.
And I was working with him. And in fact, so what happened is I went up to do a play, because everyone I knew that in theater gave me a play to do to sort of get through this grief process. And you have a lot of time once rehearsal's over when you're in the run of a show. And I picked up Matthew's guitar, and I was like, I'm gonna figure this out, and I'm gonna play, because I loved doing it with him. I loved making music, and I thought I don't know any songs. I mean, except for the harmony to the chorus of a couple. So I started writing them. And I actually called up, it was time to come home and have a memorial service, and I called up a friend of mine who later became my backup singer, but at the time there was no music to back up, and I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, because everything's still there at the house and at the apartment in Manhattan, and his new shoes are still sitting in the middle of the floor, and his robe's still hanging in the bathroom. Right, everything's where he left it that day, and I don't know what I'm going to do about that. And she said, "Well, write a song," and that became the title track of my first CD. Which so I just started writing these songs that
with no musical training.
No musical training.
You just wrote the songs.
I just wrote the songs, and
the words first. Music second, or combination?
It was a combination. I would get an idea, and I would start to. Usually, I would get an idea when I was out walking. I did a lot of walking in the mountains, the Catskill Mountains, and I'd be out walking, and so there'd be a rhythm, and there'd be a couple lines, and then there'd be a story, and then I'd come back to the theater, and I'd pick up my guitar and try to figure out how to, but I was limited because, I didn't know a lot of chords.
Right.
And so I put ones in there that most musicians are like, but why did you use that chord there? But they're like, your music is so, refreshingly different. Like, I'm like, those are the chords I knew. I didn't know they didn't go together. It sounded all right to me. So
purely by ear then.
Purely by ear. Purely by ear.
That's excellent. So and so you just then kept writing after that.
Yeah, I had these songs, and I wanted to record them to give them to Matthew's mom and to some of my friends, and I didn't know anything. I didn't even have a boombox, and if I had a tape recorder thing or some kind of thing to play stuff, but I didn't know how to. I didn't have a microphone. I didn't know how to record these. I found this guy who was a friend of a playwright. I know we had long anyway. This guy was like, oh, I know a guy who can have access to a studio where we can do this, at night after he's done, and we can do it for. And he gave me a number for how much it would cost to do a real recording. And I was like, yeah, I don't really have that money. But I was doing voiceovers at the time. I was doing commercials.
Sure,
I just started doing that. That kind of came at the same time. And I went to my mailbox. I don't know if you know, with commercials, you do a commercial, and then
more
you get
plays, residuals.
Every time it plays, you get money. So you never know. You can make a little or a lot on a commercial. And I went to my mailbox that day after having this conversation. I walked over and I opened it up, and there were a bunch of envelopes from Paradigm. That was my commercial agency, and they added up these checks
to what you needed.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And then
that's a sign, right?
Right. And then I had this album this CD. I was going to make a tape, man. This was a long time ago. I was like, well, I got this music. It's a really nice recording. I might as well make a CD. And so I did. And then one thing led to another, and somebody who'd heard it, who it resonated with, had called up Billboard and kept saying, you must listen.
Right.
And that's how it got the Billboard review. And then it was like, oh, wow, okay, I have a music career. Oh, okay.
Nice.
This, yeah.
All right, well, so let's take a step back, Meghan, and let's talk about Building This House. What is that song about?
Okay, so Building This House, this is 4 CDs later. 4 CDs later. And many years later, many years, and I am now married,
right?
And I have 2 children.
Nice.
And I've built a life, and when I started, the first line of this song, "I'm building this house brick by brick, board by board," I wrote coming back from the mountains when Matthew had just recently died.
Oh, okay.
And I had that line.
An old song.
It was an old idea.
Okay.
But I couldn't finish it. I was like, I can't. I don't know what this song is about. And then I met Peter. I met my husband, and he also plays with me. Peter, his name's Peter Farrell, and he's a phenomenal keyboard player and guitar player and sax player and now a ukulele player, because he got me a ukulele and he learned how to play it. I'm like, no, I'm supposed to learn how to play it. But anyway, so he, just building a family, creating a family. I knew all of a sudden, I was like, oh, I know what this song was meant to be.
Nice.
And then the guys that I gathered here in Philly, I found some players who are they're just such wonderful human beings and fabulous musicians. And so they added such a vibe that all of a sudden I was like, oh, this song has a life. And so I finished it.
All right. Now, you were writing songs by yourself, and then you got these three guys to work with you in the band. How did that change your songwriting process?
Well, that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about, because I still basically write the songs, but now I don't have to, I don't have to get them completely in their place where they're going to be, because I bring them to the band and they have these ideas, and all of a sudden that same old groove, I just can't figure out a better groove.
Sure.
They all of a sudden bring this groove to them, like, oh, that's where I wanted to be. Or, we just started this, and this is why we're getting ready to sort of launch another channel of music from our stuff, is they're now all singing with me.
Okay.
So we're getting harmonies in,
nice.
and it's 3 male voices
and yours.
Mine. So it's a really cool thing, and they just bring so much musicality to it, and so much groove, and now vocals.
So more fun now that you have these guys working with you?
Yes. I mean, it's just so much more fun. Sometimes I play just with my husband, Peter,
right.
and that's fun in itself, because like he's a one-man show on his keyboard sometimes, but having a whole rhythm section.
Right.
I mean, come on, you're up there. I get to be a rock star. I never got to be a rock star before, so it's fun. And now, but I'm going to be my keyboard playing husband is going to be getting an accordion for Christmas. Because here's the deal: the keyboard is so hard to carry around,
right.
and we want to do festivals, more of those kinds of things that we do some of. But then he has to play the guitar, and I'm like, well, that's cool, but it's cool that you do the keyboard. So let's get an accordion and see what happens. So that's where we're going next.
Very cool.
All right, let's go to the second song on the podcast. From your album Onion Dream, this is the title track to that album. Tell us a little bit about the album and also this song before we go to it.
All right. Well, I just have to say about this song as you're listening, just don't worry, I'm better now.
Okay.
It's a little bit dark, but this is the title track of my sophomore album. And gosh, sophomore albums, you're trying to live up to this album that you didn't. I mean, I didn't even mean to make an album,
but you had more success than you thought you would have.
Right, and now I had to live up
to pressure.
It had to be better, and had to be, and I the process was ego stripping, and it was challenging on so many levels as a creative person.
Nerve-wracking?
Oh, it was nerve-wracking. It was, and I there was so much I didn't know, but I felt like I was supposed to know. Like I thought I was supposed to know how to produce my own record.
Right.
So I wanted to be a co-producer, but I really wasn't in any way, shape, or form ready to do that.
Okay.
And I hired a guy to produce with me, and it just didn't work. I ended up parting ways with the person I started the record with, and going back to Kevin Lacey of Freudian Slip Recordings, fabulous engineer. He had built a studio in his parents' basement after he came to my first show, and he came to me and said, I didn't think I was going to record music anymore, but I want to record your music. And this was years before I did Onion Dream. He said, I want to record your music, so I'm going to build this studio. But when it came time to do this, I had to get the fancy producer.
Sure.
I had to have the whole thing, and the name and the and then I remember standing in Grand Central Station in New York on the telephone. I called up Kevin, and I'm holding my raw material. We did it on actually did it on tape, just for the warm sound. Mm-hmm. And I'm holding it, and I called him up in tears. I said, Kevin, I can't believe I'm doing this, and I can't believe I didn't do this first, and you have every right to say no, but would you please help me finish this record? And he said, I've been waiting for you.
Very good.
He did such a fabulous job.
So you were very happy with the way the album finally developed. Very cool.
All right, well, let's go to that now. We are talking with Meghan Cary, and this song is called Onion Dream. It's the title track to her sophomore album, and you're listening to yourlocalnote.com.
Maybe it's the weather, could be the moon. But I lost the faith I need, and I hope it comes back soon. I miss the seasons, I miss the sky. The voice of a robin once could make me cry.
And that is Onion Dream. She is Meghan Cary, and this is yourlocalnote.com. I want to talk a little bit about now the recording process, the difference between the first album and now the second album. You mentioned that it was difficult to write that follow-up album. What were the steps that you took when writing the songs for your second album?
Well, some of the second album was written almost alongside the first album, but not really. The stuff wasn't fleshed out, and so I did that with this producer. He was a drummer too, and I really appreciate all the work that he did on that. Some of the songs were just, they didn't, they took a minute to think about, and I wasn't used to that. It wasn't the first album. I didn't think. I just wrote.
It just happened, yeah.
And now they always say that's how you get see, you live for however long you live, and you write your first album, and you have, say you write it at age 18, you have 18 years of stuff that goes into that first album. Then 2 years later, you do your second album, and you only have 2 years worth of stuff.
Right.
And so you got to really, now luckily I was still in kind of a painful place in my life, and it's really easier to write from pain than it is from joy.
Yeah.
It is. And that's where the newest record, Building This House, is very, very different, because there's some really joyful stuff on there, and it's like, wow, that was different. But yeah, so I mean, I think that it was mostly hard because I was expecting a lot of myself,
right?
And I was trying to refill the well as I was taking out of it.
Okay. Now, what are some of your influences that you go to when maybe, say, you have writer's block, or you're trying to accomplish a sound or a goal to a certain song? What are some other music that you listen to draw from?
That depends on what kind of thing I'm working on. But I love, I grew up on Southern rock. I grew up on the Eagles and stuff like that. But I'm a big fan of everything Bonnie Raitt does, and I'm kind of a Melissa Etheridge junkie. I was, of her earlier stuff.
Okay.
So I like I like there to be a driving thing going on, but then I loved the Indigo Girls because of their harmonies. So I'm into that folky,
folk rock.
Yeah, the folk
pop
rock thing.
Yeah.
I think that's that's probably the biggest influence. Jazz has never been a big influence for me, but my husband has a rock and jazz background. So he's brought that. So I go and do the other thing because I know he's going to bring that in.
Okay. Sure.
You can hear that on a couple tracks on my new record. Sort of a little bit of a if you play a seventh, then it's jazz, right?
I'm not sure. That one's beyond me. Sorry about that. I was a miserable guitar player, so I can't. I know C, G, E, F.
That's all you need.
That's all you need. Three chords, right? And so then you're George Thorogood.
Yeah, or you're Neil Young, man.
Yeah,
Come on.
That's true.
Crazy horse.
Then were your first three albums written pretty close together?
Mm-mm.
Because you had your first two albums.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so.
And then the third album is Through Walking, right?
No, the third album is Live at Your House.
Oh, okay.
Right. So the third and Through Walking is on that, but it's also on the new record. So,
okay.
So the third album was definitely inspired by the fact that I'd met Peter, and we were playing a lot. This was before, when we were still living in New York, before we were back here in Pennsylvania, and in Philly, and he was playing with me. We were doing this duo thing, and I had these two records that didn't reflect what we were currently doing. I was like, and we were doing a lot of house concerts.
Okay.
Which are an awesome way to hear music, by the way.
Okay.
So we were doing a lot of house concerts, and I said, we have to do a live record, and we might as well just do it in a house. And we did. And the person who saved me on my second record, Kevin Lacey, we used his house, which was perfect. And he had all his gear there, and we recorded a live house concert. So you hear the audience, and you hear there's songs on there that are just so they're finished by the audience. So
nice.
Sometimes that's what makes the song.
So then there was a space between your last album and fourth because life sort of got in the way.
Oh, just a little bit, yeah. And I'll tell you what, I didn't plan to make the recent album, Building This House,
really?
while still raising At the time, I had 2 children under the age of 5.
Right.
And I'm trying to produce this record. And, we're going off to the studio. I'm like, honey, I got to make sure the babysitter's good, And I'm like, okay, now I'm like, okay, no, I'm good. I'm ready to rock out,
But was there any point during that time period where you're not playing your music or not writing or anything like that you thought that your career was sort of over because now you're mom and you got the 2 kids?
Absolutely. I mean, seriously, when I got pregnant with my first child, I was like, oh, this is I'm creating something. I don't need to create anything else. I'm doing this. And then when she arrived, I was like, I don't have time to create anything else. Right. I don't have time for a shower. Are you kidding me?
Right.
So I just, and I thought, if I'm going to be a good mom, I have to stay focused on this. And there's so many responsibilities to it. But it's also, I discovered, first of all, that it's just such a part of my life that I have to do it. And my children are both very musical, and my daughter sings all the time, and she's now playing piano, and my son is very rhythmic, and they're just they love it, and they hear it all the time. And my husband plays all the time. So I thought, what am I doing? Why am I thinking that I can't do this?
Right. It's all around you.
It was all around me, and I thought, and for my children to see me doing what I love to do and being a working mom. I think anytime children get to see their mom being a working mom is a great idea. But to get to to have them be a part of this, and I just thought I realized that it was an absolute no-brainer. Music and motherhood for me are inextricably mixed.
I think so. That's a good word. I'm going to go to dictionary.com in a few minutes here while we're listening to another song, but it sounds good to me. All right, so then are your children part of the inspiration for building this house? Your family?
Yeah,
I mean, pull a lot of it from there.
The final track on building this house is called "Live," and it's really just about the joy of dancing in the rain and living a second chance. And I got a second chance. I probably got a third and a fourth and a fifth and probably a 12th chance, but I got a big second chance at a life with a family, which is what I thought I was getting into
the first
time. And then when it came around the second time and it was just so perfect, I thought, they got to celebrate this.
Sure.
And I have to learn how to write music about happy stuff.
So enough of the sad stuff.
Enough of the bitter stuff. I mean, there's a track on there called "The Darker Song," which is a little bit dark, but most of them there's some joy in that record.
Excellent.
Inspired by that.
Okay, let's go to song number 3, which is called "The Moon Song."
Okay, this isn't one of the happy.
Okay, you mentioned the darker song, so now we're going to the Moon Song. So it's a little dark also.
Yes. Okay, so the Moon.
And this is from Building This House.
This is from Building This House. It's also on the live record. This is something I actually wrote before I met the band, and it was a song that so many people were requesting that I thought I have to make a studio version of it, and this is the band to do it with. And it was actually a song that I wrote. I was out on the road and I got this line in my head, which is, "I didn't want you to miss the moon." I actually pulled over. There was this gorgeous harvest moon, and I called my mom. And said, "Mom, you got to look outside. You can't miss this moon. It's just gorgeous." And so I was driving down to North Carolina from Pennsylvania, and the whole way down I had this line, "I didn't want you to miss the moon." And I played around with stuff, and I actually went to different audiences, and I'd say, "Look, I have this line, and I have another couple lines. I have an idea, but I don't know what it's about." And I let them write this song, and so I wrote my first ever song about something that didn't happen in my life.
It was other people.
It was other people. It was someone. I wrote someone else's story, but because it was so personal, because it was these people's very personal story.
Sure.
So that's what the Moon Song is, and it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite songs on the record, just because I think it's sweet.
Okay. Yeah, we're hanging with Meghan Cary. Her new album, or her latest album, is called Building This House, and the song we're going to play right now is called The Moon Song on yourlocalnote.com.
You weren't expecting to hear from me, but there's something outside you just have to see. And I be worth a call. It's so full and bright right now, but when you look again, it could be so small. And I didn't want you to miss the moon. No, I didn't want you to miss the moon. And by the way, I think it's great you're getting married. Yeah, I got the word yesterday, and everybody thought it would be you and me. But I was so busy searching back then that I looked right past what I should have seen, and I didn't want you to miss the moon. No, I didn't want you to miss the moon. Her pale clear light is strong enough to pull the tide away too soon. And I didn't want you to miss the moon. And I guess I really called to let you know something that I should have told you long ago, that no one's ever loved me like you do, like you used to. I didn't want you to miss the moon. You weren't expecting to hear from me.
That is the Moon Song. She is Meghan Cary, and this is yourlocalnote.com. You mentioned that a house show is the best kind of show to see if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So you put on these house shows. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, a house concert is in my opinion, it is if you're really into live music, especially original music, it's the best way to hear it, because you're in a room with a bunch of other people listening, and there's nobody at the bar who's there for a drink and not the music. There's not an ice machine that's going to drop its load in the middle of like a sweet ballad. It's people are there to listen, and usually, the artists coming through are. A lot of times I used to do them when I was on tour, and I was like, oh, I have a show here, but I'm going from here to here, and I have a day in between, so let me stop and do a house concert. And around here, we'll have someone, said they want to do a house concert, and they can invite 10 friends, or they can invite 40 friends. I mean,
Right.
like however many people you want to fit in your living room. And usually people bring wine or, whatever they want to drink, and there's some snacks, and we get to play, and then we take a break, and we all I get to hang with everybody and
Right.
meet everybody
Right.
and really connect with this audience. And then that's how I know what I'm playing in the next set. I mean,
Right.
it's a completely personalized concert for every person in that room. And so I think there's nothing like this experience. And as a listener, you're not paying a huge cover. Usually the person who's hosting it asks you to make a donation, because that's how the artist gets paid.
Sure.
And as a host, it's not a big deal, because you're not paying rent on a place.
Right.
So you don't.
Right.
There's all the pressures off, and it's just about the music and the community, and it's a great. We have some coming up there. It's a great way to hear.
How
music.
can people get in touch with you, or is this a word of mouth type of thing? Do you
No.
go through a person who sort of screens the people that?
No, you can on my you can contact me through my website, or at MeghanCary.com, and Meghan is with an H and Cary is with no E, Cary. If you email me and just say, hey, I'd like to hear more about this, I'll send you some information. I'll send you a little video that's like, what's a house concert, and a little
Right.
video, but how do I hold a house concert, and I'll talk you through it. And like I said, if you have 10 friends in mind, or if it's getting on spring and you want to have a big outdoor party, then I'll bring the whole band, and we've fit the whole band in a living room before. And, my drummer's on a cajon or whatever,
Okay, right.
and he's, we make a little acoustic version of what we're doing, but we also play house parties outside. That's a little different. That's a house party. That's a different thing. But the house concert is a fabulous acoustic.
Very intimate.
thing. It's very intimate. It's very intimate. It's very personal. It's a personal concert for you in your living room.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Now, have you used feedback, because it's very interactive between you and the crowd, have you used feedback from the crowd on either a new song that you were writing at the time that you put on this concert? Like, how much do you value the feedback you get on your songs from the crowd there?
Absolutely. I have finished songs, in front of a crowd.
Okay.
Because I'm listening. I'm like, oh, that's what they're hearing. Okay, well then this is where we're gonna go.
Yeah.
And I've done. I had a song that it's on my second record, Onion Dream. It's called "You Don't Know Me." It was my first ever happy love song, and
First ever.
it was my
happy- okay.
yeah. It wasn't bitter. It wasn't
okay.
no. Before that, there were no happy love songs. They were all like angry. or
okay.
hurt or slit my wrist or whatever. This was my first happy love song, and I used to play it all the time. And at one concert, somebody said to me at the intermission, they said, but you didn't play my favorite song yet. I'm like, what songs? I said, the one about the stalker. And I'm like, I don't have a song about a stalker. And they're like, yeah, that song, You Don't Know Me. I'm like, my first happy love song? No.
It's all open to interpretation.
Oh,
You
yeah.
made it-
So
you
now
made it
that
their own.
song has grown into a completely different thing now.
So we got a stalker involved in your happy love song.
There's now a stalker involved. There's lines that get thrown in there, and it's become a whole different thing. So, yeah. They're definitely the crowd is definitely involved in the music.
Good. Now that you're playing with a group, is there something that you like most about performing live? With the band at more of not a concert, like a house party or at a venue?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm with the band, like I said, we've done house concerts that are very, still intimate, and even with the drum set in a living room. But we also can then, I like to get up and rock with the band. We do festivals, and we do the outside, the house party where, we're pretty cheap if you're having a party and you want to have something cool that people are going to talk about for like a year. Remember that 4th of July party when they had that band, So, and we'll, I love to do that. I love to do that because I like to interact with everybody. I really do. But the band, I love to get up and to lead a band. Be in front of the drum set and lead a band. I love that.
Now you do a duo with your husband. Does he sometimes sit in with the band too, or is that separate?
Oh no, he is a part of the. It's a 4-piece band. It's
okay,
me.
He is part of it.
And he plays keys and sometimes guitar. And I have my fabulous bass player Jocko McNally and my drummer Quint Lange. And so it is the four of us. And what we're working on now, just as a little, because we're moving. Yeah, as a little teaser. We are putting together. I keep talking about the acoustic thing. We are putting together kind of more acoustic with string thing with hand drums, because Quint is actually a fabulous hand drummer as well as a kit drummer, and the ukulele and the mandolin and the accordion, of course, that Peter has to learn to play, but it'll take him a day, and the guitar. And we're gonna, do you ever hear the horseflies?
I have not.
You got to check them out.
Okay, horseflies. Write that down, Mike.
You got it.
We're checking that out.
Really cool vibe, and so we're adding in. We're gonna do this sort of more acousticy, folky thing with lots of harmonies. Just because I love it, and these guys are up for it, and they're the most talented musicians. I know they could do it. So that's what I'm doing next with the band. We'll still be doing all my signature stuff, but we're gonna do this new thing.
Very cool.
Excellent. Let's go through the list of where people can find you. Your website. You're on Facebook or Reverb Nation.
I'm on. So I have my website, which is MeghanCary.com, and I have a Reverb Nation site, and I have Facebook. I have a page, and I also have my profile. And you can come and be my friend on my profile too. Then you hear all about the kids as well. And I tend to post more to my profile just because there's all my friends are there.
Sure.
Right.
So, and of course I do have a page, and I have a Twitter account, and so you can tweet me.
Yeah.
And I'll try to figure out how to tweet you back.
I figured it out. It's not difficult.
Okay, good.
If I can do it, anyone can do it.
Wait, I did a battle of the bands, and down in Philly, Battle of the Agency Bands, and they did this whole thing, and people kept coming up to me after, like, oh my gosh, you guys were great. We're gonna vote for you. We're gonna vote for you. I'm like, great, vote for me. It's like, but we have to tweet. We don't know how to do that. And I'm like, well, shoot, I don't either, really. I'm like, so anyway,
once you get a hold of it, it's very simple.
Yeah. Good. All right. So you can find me on Twitter.
If I can do it, anyone can do it.
Okay. You can also just email me.
That's true.
I might actually get it. Sometimes I don't, but.
Very good. Okay, so you've got the 4 albums. I wanted to just make sure people know when they go to your website, they can find not just one album.
Not just one.
The latest one, which is Building This House, but you've got your 4 albums. First one is?
New Shoes.
Second one?
Is Onion Dream.
Okay. Third one is Alive?
It's live. It's called Live at Your House.
Okay. And then, of course, Building This House, your last one. But teasing, you've got new music on the way. 2013 sometime?
Maybe. I mean, I got to find the time to continue writing.
Okay.
I'm finding it.
And then you'll let us know so we can tell everyone.
I will let you know.
Excellent.
And I will let you know when you can hear this new conglomeration of the band too.
It sounds very interesting, and it's a different tact for you, so it's probably pretty exciting for you too.
It is.
Excellent. Very good. All right, we're going to wrap it up here, Mike. Thank you, Meghan. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. And we will have a new podcast coming up next week. As always, you can check it out on yourlocalnote.com. You can always let us know what you think of the site, what you think of the podcast. There's a couple ways to contact us now at contact@yourlocalnote.com. And now you can text us at 612-502-6614. That's 612-502-6614. Text us and let us know what you think of the site and also of not only Meghan's podcast, but all the podcasts we have. Remember, you can check those out too. All right, Meghan, we're going to wrap everything up with your last song. It's called Invitation. So give us a quick little rundown on what Invitation is about.
Okay. Invitation was a song that I had started and abandoned. And again, I met these guys and it's like, oh, I can make this more of a rock song. And it's an older theme, which is about trying to step back into the world after grieving a loss, and just trying to step back in and allow people, allow someone in, and so it's.
Did they take the song where you thought they would take it, or did they take it in a new direction?
They took it in an absolute new. It was I had a guitar and I had a strong rhythm, but it was like, this is a folk song, and then they take it and all of a sudden there's it's not a folk song anymore.
Okay, very cool. The song is called Invitation. It's from the album Building This House. The artist is Meghan Cary, and this is yourlocalnote.com.
You scare me when you stand so close. I've grown accustomed being alone. I run when I mean to stay. I don't know why. I'm just made that way. I've kept my distance so safe, so well, and I have stumbled, but I never fell. And I've danced this dance alone so long. If you wanna join me, you're gonna have to be strong. I can't promise I can stand right here and let you love me. You know I know this fear. It keeps me running, but hold on tight. If you don't give in, then I just might stand my ground and let you be the one to reach this part of me. Make your way. Make your way inside me. I'll look up and I will see you. Don't give up. You've almost broken through. I can see you from behind this wall. Take one step closer and it might fall. It might fall and I might crumble too. But if you take my hands, I can walk right through the rubble into your arms and taste